An incredibly disturbing video emerges on social media as a small boy recounts multiple acts of homosexual abuse he's been made to endure. Police say they'll find out who's responsible. And a cop dies apparently from a COVID-related illness. We'll tell you how he took hours to get into the hospital. Plus, government workers at the tax department staged a walkout over COVID cases in their workspace. Also, is the Briceño administration getting ready to open the Corozal-free zone? Plus, Vervine. Many say this bush is the answer for COVID. We'll talk to a local herbalist about how it can work for you. We've got details of these and other stories in our newscast for tonight, Wednesday, December 2nd, 2020. Good evening. With your news, I'm Indra Craig.
Make your Christmas bright this year with a quick and easy loan from Quick Stop in December and make no payments until January. Visit your nearest Quick Stop branch or apply online at quickstoponline.com. Offer ends December 31st. Quick Stop Personal Finance Center. No hassle loans.
You've worked hard your whole life building your future, your family, your business, your home. And when you aren't around to safeguard your most beloved assets, you are at ease because you know they are protected by RF&G Insurance. For over 50 years, RF&G has been making sure business owners get back to work after an accident, and families get back into their homes quickly after a natural disaster. At RF&G, it's you who matters most. Visit us today and learn why it pays to get it right. RF&G Insurance, a Rowe Group company.
Bree, what's wrong? It's him. He hit me again.
Oh my gosh.
This time it was worse. He slammed my face in the wall and threatened to kill me. If you or someone you know is experiencing family violence, call 0800-A-WAY-OUT. Or you can text or WhatsApp to 672-9628. This message is brought to you by the National Women's Commission, with funding from The Engender and Spotlight Projects.
Have you been a victim of gender-based violence and were dissatisfied with the service received from the department you visited? The National Women's Commission developed a complaint form, which addresses the concerns of victims of gender-based violence who felt that they were not treated professionally by the police, healthcare professionals, social service institutions, or other relevant sectors. The form is filled out by the victim or another person on his or her behalf. The form should be placed in the box provided at the designated office in your district. These forms are self-addressed, so they can also be folded, stapled, and mailed to the address on the form free of cost by any post office countrywide. Your information will be held in the strictest confidence. You will be able to fill out the form online, which will be on the National Women's Commission website. After the form has been sent, an internal investigation will be conducted by the relevant department, and you will be notified of the changes made as a result of your complaint. The victim's complaint mechanism will be rolled out in all districts. This message is brought to you by the National Women's Commission with funding from Engender and Spotlight Projects and support from the Department of Youth Services.
Apple for Kids is here once again.
Have you ordered your apples yet?
You can get your red apples.
Or you can get yellow apples. Each box is just $110.
And it's all for the children of Belize.
So call 614-3579 before December the 4th.
December 4th? That's this Friday. Hurry and order your apples now.
And be Belize.
BCE. Belize, changing Belize.
Stay safe and submit your sickness benefit claim form electronically. Follow these 4 steps. Step 1. Obtain your medical certificate. At consultation, the doctor certifies your days of illness and provides you with a medical certificate. Step 2. Fill out your sickness benefit form. Complete all the fields in parts 1 to 4 on the front page of the sickness benefit form. Step 3. Request your salaries record form. Contact your employer for your salaries record form. Step 4. Submit your sickness benefit claim form. Scan or take a clear picture of the sickness benefit form, salaries record, and proof of bank account. Email the documents to claims@socialsecurity.org.bz within 14 days. You will receive an email reply confirming receipt of your claim. After the submission of all documents, your claim is processed for payment to your account. For any COVID-related illnesses, contact the Ministry of Health for further guidance. Social Security Board, safeguarding you, your family, your future.
Everyone is at risk of catching COVID-19, so it's important to quickly recognize signs and symptoms of the infection. The most common symptoms are fever, dry cough, and tiredness or fatigue. Some people may also have sore throat, aches and pains, stuffy nose, or diarrhea. But a few people have also reported pink eye or conjunctivitis, headache, loss of taste or smell, a rash on skin, or change in the color of fingers or toes. Emergency warning signs that require immediate medical attention are extreme difficulty breathing, severe constant pain or pressure in the chest, becoming confused, unable to talk or move, bluish lips, face, fingers, or toes. For more information, call 0800-MOH-CARE. Help keep Belize safe.
Tonight we begin with the news of a disturbing video that has been making the rounds on social media. A young boy, maybe around 10 years old, is heard speaking plainly about the sexual abuse he has endured from persons in the neighborhood. In the shocking 4-minute narration, he goes into detail about having to perform oral sex on one teenager who threatened to shoot him if he told anyone. He also admits to being raped by another man. The person behind the camera keeps questioning him about the incidents and, seeming to not know he is being captured on camera, answers in a seemingly joking manner. The video has caught the attention of the Commissioner of Police, who issued a statement via Facebook today. He said that they are vigorously investigating the video since it is an obvious case of child abuse. The Compol is also asking for those who posted or shared the video to take it down, as it adds to the hurt and humiliation of the child. And in another case of heinous alleged child abuse, an 8-year-old girl was allegedly molested by a 21-year-old man. That man, Marvin Artiega, has been remanded to prison after he was denied bail in Belize City Magistrates Court. The little girl told relatives that twice in November, Artiega touched her inappropriately. In court, Artiega pleaded not guilty to both charges, but the police prosecutor objected to bail because of the tender age of the victim and the possibility that Artiega may interfere with her. Artiega was remanded to the Belize Central Prison until February 1st, 2021. The police now have a lot on their hands with those abuse cases, and they are already severely short-staffed as well, since hundreds of officers are currently infected with COVID-19. And now Police Corporal David Jimenez has died, and the virus is suspected to be the cause. Jimenez was reportedly rushed to the hospital in an ambulance this morning after he started experiencing respiratory distress and seizures. Reports to our newsroom are that the ambulance arrived at the hospital around 6:30 a.m. but was blocked from entering the building until about 9 for a number of reasons which are still unclear. Jimenez's seizures continued during this time, and he reportedly passed away in the ambulance while waiting to be admitted, just as Dr. Fernando Cuellar warned last week of COVID patients dying in the parking lot. If Jimenez's test results are positive, COVID positive, that is, he would be the second cop to die from the virus. The first was 25-year-old Esner Medina, who died at the beginning of November. Jimenez was one of 7 officers awarded back in May for outstanding performance in making most arrests. He was recently promoted to corporal. He was attached to the Precinct 3 support team. There are reports of a major traffic accident this evening in Unitedville Village. Initial reports say it is a pileup between 3 vehicles and a motorcycle. So far, there are no reports that it was fatal. We are told rain was a factor. It is one more in a series of accidents out west recently, and tonight a UDP politician could be facing serious charges for a recent one. 7 News has confirmed that a 92-year-old man who was knocked down by John August, the UDP's losing candidate in Kaya Northeast, has died. As we reported, it happened 2 days ago at 11:15 in the morning in Unitedville Village when Daniel Gongora was attempting to cross the highway in front of Yilong Shop. August was approaching in his Isuzu D-Max when he saw the elderly man in the road. He says he applied brakes and tried swerving to avoid a collision, but still ended up hitting him with the right front side of the vehicle, knocking Gongora unconscious and injuring his hand. The 92-year-old was transported to the Belmopan Hospital in an unconscious state and died earlier today. We await word on what charges August will now face. A COVID situation at the tax department has reportedly led to employees from the accounts department staging a sick out and the audit department staging a walkout. Sources tell us that the department has 3 confirmed COVID cases and over 10 suspected cases where persons claim they have lost their sense of taste and smell and are exhibiting flu-like symptoms. The employees are appealing to the authorities to take the time to properly sanitize the building. This follows the death of an employee from the Orange Walk branch, Mario Gonzalez. And another government department is not waiting for a walkout. They are coming up front with full disclosure and action. A release from the Belize Postal Service says that a staff member has tested positive for COVID-19 at their Orange Walk Police Office branch, which has interrupted normal services this week. A release says staff members who came in direct contact with the COVID-positive co-worker were notified and arrangements have been made for them to be tested. They have also been advised to not report to work and to self-isolate at home until they have received a negative test result. The release adds that a certified fumigation and sanitation company were acquired to accommodate the sanitization and deep cleaning of the Orange Walk Post Office building. That process was completed yesterday and it is ready for use. But the post office will reopen tomorrow. We'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll have the latest from Cabinet's meeting yesterday. Plus, we look into the mystery of vervain. Many say it is the answer for COVID. We'll talk to a local herbalist. And can you legally carry out the functions of a minister without first being a member of the House? Well, that's what Jules Vasquez tries to find out. Don't go away.
Looking for a paint which offers durability, fast drying action, easy application, long-lasting protection, and low odor? Then Coronado is the brand you need. Choose from eggshell, flat, or semi-gloss finishes for your home's interior or exterior. You can also protect your deck from the harsh outdoor elements with Coronado Maxum deck and siding stain. We also have primers, masonry, and metal coatings for other projects around your home. Benny's Paint Center has the paint you need in the color and finish you want. Enjoy your newly painted home with long-lasting, durable Coronado paints. Available at Benny's. Quality and savings.
You've worked hard your whole life building your future, your family, your business, your home. And when you aren't around to safeguard your most beloved assets, you are at ease because you know they are protected by RF&G Insurance. For over 50 years, RF&G has been making sure business owners get back to work after an accident, and families get back into their homes quickly after a natural disaster. At RF&G, it's you who matters most. Visit us today and learn why it pays to get it right. RF&G Insurance, a Rowe Group company.
Delicate, the beer of Belize.
On March 11th, the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a pandemic. A pandemic means the virus is everywhere, but it might not be everywhere at the same time. If there are no cases in your area, it does not mean that there will never be cases in your area. Here's what you can do to delay the spread of COVID-19 in your community. Stay home unless it's absolutely necessary for you to go out. Practice physical distancing when you leave home. Wash your hands frequently using soap and water for at least 40 seconds or use alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Avoid contact with anyone who has fever, cough and cold, or flu-like symptoms. Obey quarantine, isolation, and curfew rules. Clean and disinfect frequently touched surfaces such as doorknobs, counters, phones, and tablets. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth without first washing your hands. Help keep Belize safe.
Ray, what's wrong? It's him. He hit me again.
Oh my gosh.
This time it was worse. He slammed my face in the wall and threatened to kill me. If you or someone you know is experiencing family violence, call 0800 A Way Out. Or you can text or WhatsApp to 672-9628. This message is brought to you by the National Women's Commission, with funding from The Engender and Spotlight Projects.
Stay safe and submit your sickness benefit claim form electronically. Follow these 4 steps. Step 1. Obtain your medical certificate. At consultation, the doctor certifies your days of illness and provides you with a medical certificate. Step 2. Fill out your sickness benefit form. Complete all the fields in parts 1 to 4 on the front page of the sickness benefit form. Step 3. Request your salaries record form. Contact your employer for your salaries record form. Step 4. Submit your sickness benefit claim form. Scan or take a clear picture of the sickness benefit form, salaries record, and proof of bank account. Email the documents to claims@socialsecurity.org.bz within 14 days. You will receive an email reply confirming receipt of your claim. After the submission of all documents, your claim is processed for payment to your account. For any COVID-related illnesses, contact the Ministry of Health for further guidance. Social Security Board, safeguarding you, your family, your future.
Contraband is the illegal importation of goods such as alcohol, tobacco, foods, and parts. Apart from breaking the law, smugglers are also now endangering the health of all Belizeans. They risk bringing coronavirus into Belize with their contraband. To keep COVID-19 out of Belize, everyone entering the country is screened and quarantined. But contraband smugglers are not using legal entry points and are bypassing all safety measures. And these same smugglers are moving among the population. They could be carrying the virus. By coming into the country illegally, they could cause outbreaks of COVID-19. Buying or smuggling contraband is putting yourself, your family, and the entire country at risk. Report smuggling. For SMART, call 0800-JUMPERS or 0800-BORDERS. For Digi, 0800-SAVE-BZE. This message is brought to you by the Belize Police Department and the Belize Bank.
We do these things without thinking, to keep our possessions safe. And yet, we think twice about doing this. Even though calling Crime Stoppers is an anonymous way to make our homes, schools, and communities safer, which helps to protect the people we care about. Call Crime Stoppers to anonymously report criminal activity in your area. By working together, we can make our Belize a safer place. This message is brought to you by Crime Stoppers Belize and this station.
El contrabando es importar ilegalmente productos como el alcohol, tabaco, comida y objetos. Aparte de romper la ley, los contrabandistas están poniendo ahora en riesgo la salud de los beliceños. Ellos arriesgan traer coronavirus a Belice por medio de sus contrabandos. Para mantener el COVID-19 fuera de Belice, todos los que entren al país son examinados y encuarentenados. Sin embargo, los contrabandistas no utilizan los puntos de entrada legal y se saltan todas las medidas de seguridad. Estos mismos traficantes se están moviendo entre la población. Ellos podrían tener el virus. Al entrar ilícitamente al país, esto puede provocar un brote de COVID-19. Comprar o traficar contrabando te pone a ti, a tu familia y a todo tu país en riesgo. Para números de Smart, llama al 0800-586-7377, 0800-267-3377 y para Digi 0800-728-3293 para reportar cualquier actividad de contrabando. Este mensaje es presentado por el Departamento de Policía de Belice y el Banco de Belice.
And in the age of social media, another video has been making its way around the social network. In this one, a man without a mask is seen resisting arrest inside a store in Ladyville. 4 officers are heard telling the man that he will be arrested, and the man is seen lying on the ground. The officers are then forced to grapple with him to get him into handcuffs. They even get the handcuffs on in a very uncomfortable position. In such a situation, the police officers are put at risk at catching COVID-19, since the man is not wearing a mask and the officers must get into close contact with him. 21 days in office and Prime Minister John Briceño still hasn't faced the press, but he's been proving that his government is proficient at one-way communications, such as Facebook addresses, press releases, and manicured media appearances with the press office or friendly media. This evening's cabinet brief details the business of yesterday's virtual cabinet session. First, government will have to find $9 million to fix the roads after all that flooding. That's what the Minister of Infrastructure Development and Housing, Julius Espat, updated the cabinet on when he addressed the current state of the nation's roads. In news of investigations into wrongdoing, cabinet says they will launch a full investigation into the sell-off of government assets by the previous administration. And cabinet has authorized a forensic audit of Belize Infrastructure Limited, including all projects it administered. On the judicial front, Attorney General Magali Marin Young presented a proposal to amend the legislation to impose time limits for the delivery of judgments in the Supreme Court and Court of Appeals. Cabinet also discussed important amendments to the Contractor General Act, including proposals to introduce an independent Public Contracts Commission to review and approve the award of public contracts and to work along with the Contractor General to investigate any suspicious public contracts. Orlando Habet, the Minister of Sustainable Development, Climate Change and Disaster Risk Management, updated the cabinet on NEMO's ongoing assistance for victims of Hurricane Eta and Iota. The minister said that household appliances and other supplies were being provided to more than 2,800 persons. And one thing we didn't see in the cabinet brief is the discussion over the possible time frame to reopen the Corozal-free zone. It was a manifesto promise by the PUP, and discussions with the new board are underway. They are discussing the possibility of a possible December date for opening. But there is some uncertainty over whether it is practical to implement COVID rapid testing of Mexican shoppers. Vervain, you've probably heard of it and its healing capabilities for treating a common cold. But now people are looking to it as a cure for COVID. While there is no actual cure or vaccine for that matter, experts in bush medicine have taken to making a daily drink out of the plant. We wanted to find out more, so Courtney Menzies spoke to a local herbalist to find out about it.
If you've ever had a cold, your grandparents might have taken some leaves out of their yard, boiled them, and given you them to drink. By the next day, you are probably feeling a lot better. That's the magic of vervain, known locally as vervine, a common plant that is seen growing in damp areas, mainly near drains. And while it has been commonly used to treat colds and flus, people have turned to it to build their resistance against COVID-19. Of course, there is no proof that it works, but just enter vervain on Google and you'll see how the plant's celebrity status as a cure-all for COVID has grown in the Caribbean and Africa. We wanted to find out more about the health properties of it, so we sat down with herbalist and self-proclaimed healer, Reggie, of Reggie's Herbal and Tea House.
It's a green, long pinnacle plant with purple pinnacle, purple flower, very small, and thick root and stem. They refer to it as scorpion tail because the pinnacle look like a scorpion tail. All right? This is the pinnacle. In every one of my concoction having to do with a detox, I put it in it.
Vervain acts as a decongestant and is even known to be used for persons who have severe lung-related illnesses, such as tuberculosis. While such a disease may be better left for a doctor's advice, Reggie told us how he creates his detox to help people suffering from the common cold.
A person with a condition, a lungs condition, would normally tend to have excess mucus. And so in the case of excess mucus, I do what you call a cold detox. The purpose of a cold detox is to simply identify that the mucus is there and arrest the mucus, uproot the mucus, and discharge the mucus. Each and every part of the plant have its significant purpose. But when I do a detox, I use the whole plant, the root, the stem, and the leaves.
It's a simple process, but Reggie emphasized need to properly clean the plant before boiling it.
So you put the water to boil, and when the water starts to spin at boiling point, then you put the vervine, after I already cleaned the vervine, you put the vervine inside the water. You can also do some warm water or squeeze a half a lime inside the hot water and just use a strainer and pour the water, the warm lime water over the vervine. Then put it inside the boiling water. Don't have it boiling for over 15-20 minutes because the strength of it is going up to evaporation. You want the life component and the properties of the vervine. So you keep it there for 5 minutes to ensure that it's going to an extraction and then turn off the heat.
With its proven health benefits, people have started flocking to the plant, drinking it regularly in an attempt to ward off COVID-19. But Reggie says drinking too much can be dangerous.
If you got one common cold, man, and you drink something or some vervine and the cold left you, you don't need to drink vervine 365 days for the year.
But in days like these, many have turned to it for a daily potion or tonic, no less than a Minister of Utilities and Logistics, told Facebook about his particular brew of papaya leaves, turmeric, garlic, ginger, and onions, with that shot of vervine. It may not be the long-awaited COVID vaccine, but believers say it's the next best thing. Courtney Menzies, 7 News.
Vervain, also known as verbena, is also a known deterrent of vampires, and vampire lore says it burns them. Next week, Wednesday, Belize will join the rest of the world in celebrating International Anti-Corruption Day. And the Public Service Union is calling on public officers and members of the general public to join them on an awareness campaign for 7 days on why Belizeans need to continue standing up against corruption in public life. They say that you can show support for their efforts by simply including hashtag Belize United Against Corruption and hashtag Recover with Integrity on your social media posts. The union is also calling out the Briceño government to start implementing the anti-corruption features they promised in their Plan Belize manifesto. They are also asking public officers to help them fight corruption by providing evidence or disclose instances of corruption in the public service that is threatening the employment and economic stability of public officers. And while it may not be corruption per se, government insiders tell us that it is certainly irregular that no gazette has been published detailing the assignment of various government departments under government ministries. Directions in writing for ministerial responsibilities have been circulated, and a gazette extraordinary was expected, but none has been forthcoming. There have also been no details in the gazettes of 14, 21, or 28 November, which has left quite a few scratching their heads. And while that seems to be a major disconnect, there are those who argue that it is illegal to have functioning ministers who are not yet sworn in as members of the House. Jules Vasquez looked into the practice versus the law.
A mischievous but not entirely baseless post on a UDP-friendly news site has suggested that the current government may be going about its business illegally. And that's because ministers have not been sworn in as members of the National Assembly, but are already carrying out official duties as ministers. The conflict is with Part 5 of the Constitution, which says, quote, "Appointments to the office of minister shall be made by the Governor-General, acting in accordance with the advice of the Prime Minister from among members of the House of Representatives and of the Senate." So, while they have been elected, the new ministers have not been sworn in as members of the House of Representatives. Notably, the two senator ministers, Eamon Courtney and Chris Coy, did take their oaths as senators before taking an oath as minister. So, they're good. But the suggestion is that all other ministers are illegal. And indeed they are, especially for those who are first-time representatives, because the Constitution also provides, quote, "If occasion arises for making an appointment to the office of minister while the National Assembly is dissolved, then a person who was a member of the House of Representatives or of the Senate immediately before the dissolution may be appointed as minister." So that works for John Briceño, Cordell Hyde, Jose Mai, Rodwell Ferguson, Julius Espat, Karim Musa, Oscar Requena, Mike Espat, Lande Habet, Florencio Marin Jr., Francis Fonseca, Misha Shabat, and Luis Zabanet, but not so for Kevin Bernard, Dolores Valderramos Garcia, Anthony Mahler, Andre Perez, Ramiro Ramirez, David Vega, Oscar Mira, Gilroy Usher, Henry Charles Usher, and Ramon Cervantes. But while strict definition of the highest law of the land may dictate one procedure, the long-established practice, most likely from George Price's days, is that the first House meeting, usually ceremonial, is held a month or so after the new government is elected. And that's when the new representatives are sworn in. For example, when the UDP won on February 8, 2008, it did not hold its first ceremonial sitting of the House until 14th March, more than a month later, which is when all the members were sworn in. They had been acting as ministers for at least a month before that. And in 1998, when Said Musa's PUP won on August 27th, they were not sworn in until September 12th, 16 days later, but again had already been acting as ministers. It is the norm and the practice, but not the law.
No date has been announced for the ceremonial opening of the House of Representatives. And when we come back, how much are those ministers making and are they taking home all those allowances? We'll tell you. And the future of funerals, we'll tell you about a new trend that may continue well after COVID is gone. Don't go away.
Looking for a paint which offers durability, fast drying action, easy application, long-lasting protection, and low odor? Then Coronado is the brand you need. Choose from eggshell, flat, or semi-gloss finishes for your home's interior or exterior. You can also protect your deck from the harsh outdoor elements with Coronado Maxum deck and siding stain. We also have primers, masonry, and metal coatings for other projects around your home. Benny's Paint Center has the paint you need in the color and finish you want. Enjoy your newly painted home with long-lasting, durable Coronado paints. Available at Benny's. Quality and savings.
Delicate, the beer of Belize.
Belize Electricity Limited encourages you to enjoy this holiday season by following these safety and energy conservation tips. Inspect each holiday light string for rusted light sockets, cords, and plugs for damages. If you notice any damages, throw away the strings of lights. Consider using LED lights. They remain cool, are more durable, and consume less energy. Use only extension cords certified by Underwriters Laboratories UL for safety. Distribute light strands among multiple extension cords and use power strips. This prevents circuit overload that would otherwise overheat and potentially start a fire. Remember, even when switched off, your decor still consumes small amounts of electricity. So curb the waste by plugging all decorations into power strips and turn off lights when not in use. Finally, when decorating outdoors, always look up and keep ladders away from overhead power lines.
Belize Electricity Limited wishes you a safe and happy holiday season.
Before the break, we told you about the new cabinet ministers and the suggestion that until they get sworn in as area representatives, they can't be ministers. One thing we do know is that until they are sworn in, they cannot collect their pay as area reps. And that's bad news for the 4 elected PUPs who did not get into cabinet. But those who did, they are collecting a fair package of salaries plus allowances, exactly the same thing that their predecessors got. And the Public Service Union surely isn't going to be too happy about it. An internal memo from Narda Garcia, the new CEO in the Office of the Prime Minister, outlines the salaries that ministers and ministers of state will receive. 7 News has obtained a copy of the memo dated December 1st, and it says that ministers will be paid $81,000 annually. They will also get allowances for housing and entertainment of $19,200, and they will be paid $12,000 for telephone expenses, a total package of $112,200, which isn't too bad in this town. Add to that the $4,000 monthly, which they receive directly as community vote, and you have annual receipts of $160,000. Ministers of state will get a salary of $54,000. Their allowance for housing and entertainment will also be $19,200. They will also get $12,000 for telephone expenses, for a total package of $85,200. The silent outrage over these figures and fat allowances is grounded in the fact that public officers are attempting to engage in a tough conversation with the government about cost-saving measures to survive the COVID-induced financial crisis that the country is facing. Again, we note that the emoluments and allowances package is the same that their UDP predecessors received. Earlier this week, the Belize Defense Force Air Wing saluted 3 of their own, Captain Francis Usher, Captain CRD Glenn, and Sergeant Gungara, for completing their first military international flight to Toncontin International Airport in Tegucigalpa, Honduras. All 3 BDF pilots flew there in the BDF BNTB-2B, that is Defender aircraft, making the BDF's first international military flight in over 10 years. Before them, no BDF pilot had ever landed at Toncontin because it was rated as one of the top 5 most dangerous airports in the world. Its approach is considered to be one of the most difficult. The Air Wing considers this successful flight as a demonstration of the professionalism and capabilities of their pilots and their engineers. The Air Wing also noted that the flight's success could also be attributed to the recent forging of friendly relations with Honduras, which could pave the way for future military partnership and possible scholarship opportunities for young, aspiring Belizeans. The days of gathering at the family member's home after the death of a loved one are pretty much gone, as COVID-19 has made it unsafe to congregate in large numbers. This also means that it is unlikely that you will be able to attend the funeral of those who aren't in your immediate family. But in the age of technology, you can still be a part of the service from the comfort of your home. Several funeral homes have gotten into the business of live streaming the service from the moment the hearse arrives to the church until the casket is put into the ground. Courtney Menzies spoke with a pioneer in the business and has this story.
In late 2020, you may not be able to have thousands of people at your funeral, but you may be able to have 1,000 viewers with just the click of a mouse. With COVID-19 restrictions, gatherings of more than 10 people are disallowed, which has taken away the sacred feeling of a proper send-off for one's loved one. With that, the future of funerals has now turned to live streams, and Andrew Munnings of Live Events and Designs is on the cutting edge of this type of In late 2020, you may not be able to have thousands of people at your funeral, but you may be able to have is on the cutting edge of this type of event. Munnings started his live streaming business last year, before the world even knew a pandemic was heading their way. But now he has blown up, since Belizeans still want to feel a sense of intimacy without proximity.
I created live events and designs not to be a funeral services, but to really take events live, funerals, weddings, everything. And from there, it really started. But everything really took off, I guess, because of COVID-19, family members not able to travel, but they want to be there. I would rather see a funeral live stream than not able to see it at all. And what family members really love is the actual voice behind the live streaming. Okay, what is hot? What is going to happen next?
And Belizeans share Munnings' sentiments, since these live streams can get more than 1,000 views. He says he has gotten calls from family members abroad who say they feel like they were actually attending the funeral without the stress of traveling. And his funeral service is the entire package, including even personalized decor and caskets. This is of major importance to Belizeans, who take the business of putting their loved ones to rest very seriously. So seriously, in fact, they even request to see the body.
I think the hardest thing with the live streaming right now is family members always request to see the body on the live streaming. And live events and designs and Munnings funeral service, we always make it known that we don't show the deceased person in their box, in respect to the family and in respect to the deceased person.
Munning started the business of live streaming funerals while he was working at Paul Nino's funeral services. Even though he has left, they continue to provide the service.
COVID definitely take a toll upon the country, definitely take a toll upon the culture, what we used to as funeral. At one time, people used to could travel for the United States, for Europe, to come sympathize with their loved one. I mean, that's the very last thing you could do, is to say goodbye to your loved one. So what we do with Paulino's funeral services, we go live, so people from all over the world could view the funeral minute to minute as it happened.
And we suspect, even when COVID has come and gone, live streaming funerals will live on. Courtney Menzies, 7 News.
To stream a funeral can cost as little as $400.
In late 2020.
7 weeks ago, it made headlines in the local press when 28 inmates escaped from the Belize Central Prison, the biggest prison break in the country's history. As we told you last night, the prison has fired 1 prison officer and 3 or 4 others were placed on suspension. That's because the management has determined that their negligence to their guard duties and the protocols enabled the prison break to occur. Speaking to us today, the prison CEO would not give specifics about what exact actions or inactions the disciplined guards were guilty of. He gave us an overview of some of their investigation's findings, though. Here are those comments.
We did our investigations, interviewing all the parties involved or who had information one way or the other. And we, at the end of the day, when we looked at all the information and we analyzed everything, we found a few of the staff culpable. And without going into the merits on what basis we found them culpable, our investigation pretty much revealed that to some extent, they are varying degree, they were involved or they contributed to the incident taking place. So what we did, we terminated those who had to be terminated, and we suspended who had to be suspended. And in some cases, some got stern warning letters because obviously the degree of involvement or culpability, if you want to put it that way, wasn't that grave as opposed to the ones who we had to terminate. But I believe that the action taken, the disciplinary action taken, were appropriate depending on the level of, omission of duty that was involved in this entire thing. Whenever something like this happens, it's either because they shortcut the procedures, because we have procedures. Prisons are all about procedures. Everything you do, it's like clockwork. You have to do it in accordance with standards and policies and procedures. So it's either they shortcut the procedures, or maybe they completely, either deliberately or through ignorance, fail to carry out the procedures altogether. A serious situation happened. It was a hostage taking turned escape. It certainly left a black eye for the prison, and they had their opportunity to say something in their defense when 28 people leaves the prison compound under any circumstance at all, whether it is through hostage taking or just dug a tunnel or literally walk out the gate because of unalert guards or what have you. The thing is that society is put at risk because desperate people do desperate things, and there's no guarantee that even if the guy is good in prison all along right up until his escape, that he will continue to be a good person now that he has escaped from prison.
We also asked the CEO to discuss the final 3 prisoners who are still on the run for almost 2 months now. He shared his opinion that these prisoners, Michael Fox, Gerard Lam and Derwin Lanza, and said that they could not have evaded law enforcement if they were not being aided by members of the public.
We have 3 more on the lam right now. That is Michael Fox, Gerard Lam, authors, and Erwin Lanza. So those are the 3 outstanding. And I am hopeful that we should get them back sometime soon. Like I said earlier, I encourage the public, I encourage the communities, wherever they see them, to do the right thing. Don't harbor them, don't provide for them, and hand them over to the authorities. I personally believe that they must be getting support from somewhere. They've been out, almost 2 months now. And they could not survive if somebody or some people are not supporting them. So obviously they are being supported either out of fear or maybe people know them and they're providing for them. Food is needed, water is needed. Those are the basic necessities. And obviously they have those.
Michael Fox and Gerard Steele Bob Lam are convicted murderers. Erwin Lanza was serving 2 years in jail after he and a relative were found in possession of a marijuana plant and an illegal firearm. The CEO also told us about the other big challenge that the prison is facing, which is the COVID outbreak that infected at least 200 prisoners. Here's the CEO's detailed report on the prison's total amount of testing, which detected 195 COVID-positive patients.
We had done a total of 793 tests right up until 17th of November. We have done some more tests, at least 24 of them, I was told, between this time and today, for which we're still awaiting results. But from that 793, we had come up with 195 positive tests within the prison. The breakdown of that was 1 female staff and 11 male staff. And amongst prisoners, it was 12 female inmates and 171 males that had tested positive. As of the 17th, we had seen 182 overall cases recovered. And we only had, at that point in time, 13 active cases. But right after we put these numbers together, we had received 2 more positives. So it's up to 15 as we speak. Remember, the prisoner doesn't go anywhere, but the staff has to come, and they're in the communities where these cases are rampant. For argument's sake, I will let you know, I have 40-something staff that come from the Orange Walk district. And our problem is that majority of these cases, around 80% thereabout, are what you call asymptomatic cases. So these guys are showing up, they're not displaying any temperature that would trigger an alarm and ask you to send him back home and those kinds of things. They don't have flu symptoms. They're not displaying any COVID-19 symptoms, so to speak. So we let them into the prison to get their job done. Unfortunately, the nature of the work is that we need to interact with inmates. So more than likely, because they are the ones coming in, they may have been exposed, and more than likely because of the interaction with the inmates, the closeness of the staff with the inmate, maybe I believe that is what is responsible for it.
And because COVID-19 was likely brought into the prison, the management isn't prepared to allow visits from families of inmates to resume. The CEO told us that he was considering it strongly, but because the wider society is struggling with the second wave that is escalating, he has decided against it. Here are those comments.
I was on the verge of doing what you call a soft reopening of the prison. But just as I thought of doing it, I saw that the government instituted a curfew. And it wouldn't have been the smartest thing to do to go on a soft reopening of the prison with the virus spiraling out of proportion or exploding in the community. So because of that, I have decided to not do it, at least not right now. What we are doing right now, though, is we are certainly allowing the loved ones to come and drop off cash into the accounts of the prisoners so that they could continue purchasing things from the commissary and live as comfortable as possible whilst being in prison. Because we don't want to add more affliction to what the imprisonment itself or the deprivation of liberty is already having on them.
The CEO tells us that the prison has instituted 2 COVID-related lockdowns to date, one in April and the other in October. Today marked the 85th anniversary of the Belize National Library Service and Information System. In almost a century, the library service has branched out throughout the entire country and has several events during the year to promote reading among children. While there was no grand celebration this year, the Minister of Education, Francis Fonseca, made a special effort to be at the small ceremony that was held. It happened at the Turton Library here in the city, but only the press office was invited, not the independent media. Here's what he told the state media.
Our National Library Service is critically important to the future growth and development of our country in terms of education and culture. So even though I've just been on the job for 2 weeks, I wanted to make a special effort to be here to share with them my support, to send a very clear message of support from the highest levels of the Ministry of Education and Culture, and also to deliver a message to them that this is a new day, a new opportunity for us to work together, to collaborate. I want NICH and the National Library Service to work together, to collaborate. I think there's room for a lot more collaboration. And as I said, I want our libraries to be cultural centers, community spaces, cultural spaces, where our Belizean artists and writers and musicians feel that they are welcomed, that their work is being supported, that their work is being prioritized, that it is being highlighted for the Belizean people. So that is, I think, my reason for being here this morning.
And if the Free Press had been invited to that event, we surely would have asked him about an internal memo from the Ministry of Education. The one-liner says that Chief Education Officer Dr. Carol Babb has been sent home. According to the memo written by new CEO Diane Mejia, her term in office has come to an end, and the ministry wishes her the best. Babb has been the Chief Education Officer since 2015 and was the deputy from 2008. Andy Palacio would have been 60 today. I mean, imagine that. The man who seems forever young in our minds, a senior citizen. Well, almost. And so it was for the legendary Vivian Andy, born to Barranco. Tonight, we remember his passing, and we go back to 2007 when he went back there as a UNESCO Artist for Peace. Here's the report from 13 years ago.
Welcome to Barranco, population 160. And on Friday, the welcome would be for those coming from the sea, as village elders oversaw a children's reenactment of the Yurumai. And while they came by dory, village boy turned global artiste Andy Palacio arrived by motorboat with a gaggle of international media, here to report on his ascent to international fame from humble village beginnings. But in Barranco, they didn't care about those international press. It's Andy they wanted to see as he came home to a celebratory welcome. And Palacio went arm in arm with his relatives and village elders, singing and celebrated, because this Barranco boy had found his way back home, and on a settlement day weekend to top it off. The procession continued right to the open field near the church. Under the tent, Palacio was greeted by warm embraces and kind words.
Barranco is proud to acknowledge its own Andy Palacio, the son of Ruben Palacio and Cleofa Aviles. The grandson of Camila and Eufemio Aviles, a.k.a. Colpasa. Andy Namule, as you know, this is where your physical body as well as your artistic potential was first nourished by Auntie Yofa and Yao Ruby. This is the one place where you can always land and just be the boy next door, Lausumbueri. We Baranguna, we Garinagu, and we Belizeans are proud of you. And we honor you.
And with his mother looking on, Minister of Culture Francis Fonseca conferred Andy with the recognition as a UNESCO Artist for Peace.
Congratulations, Andy. We are proud of you.
Every step that we take, working in music, working in culture, has very, very powerful meaning for the communities from which we come.
Palacio ended the day by joining the elders in a traditional dance.
Andy Palacio died almost 13 years ago in January of 2008. And finally tonight, a look at the other side of the historic flooding. For some enterprising spear divers, the floods have offered up a feast of tilapia. If you've been traveling on the George Price Highway in the Belize district, you would see fishermen selling their day's catch along the roadside, which is running over with water. Jules Vasquez spoke with one of the fishermen at work.
So what do you do out there?
Spear fishing.
Spear fishing for what?
Tilapia fish.
And you've been successful?
Yeah. You have days they pass by a month and some days they just slide.
Is it all because of the flooding?
Yeah.
So, and what size are the fish?
You have like 1 pound, 2 pound, up to 5 pound.
And you eat them?
Yeah, you sell them too.
Oh really?
Yeah,
okay.
we're out here too.
Oh, people pass and buy. So when you catch them,
Yeah.
Wow. How much a pound?
When right now, I sell it for $2 a pound.
$2 a pound, that's pretty cheap.
Yeah, because of the size.
Yeah. Okay. So for the past few days, and they run out there?
Yeah. Wow. More than 2 years, but for the whole week now.
And they got a number of people who they do it too, no?
Yeah.
Wow, for the whole week. So flooding did bring one good thing.
Yeah. In a way and in a way bad too, right? Because
yeah,
the different story about.
But at least you can at least come up.
Yeah.
And that's all we have for you for tonight. Thanks for watching with your news. I'm Indira Craig. You remember that you can see a streaming video of this newscast at 7newsbelize.com, brought to you by Digi for the best postpaid plans in the country. Remember now to wash your hands, to wear a mask at all times in public, and to keep your social distance. Make sure to join me back here tomorrow at 6, and until then, have a great night.